My name is Dirk Verburg. I'm a management consultant and executive coach. Through my work and academic activities, I have become more and more interested in the topic of leadership. The reason is that, over the years, I've seen leaders doing amazing things, but also witnessed leaders creating disasters. In this series of videos, I'm interviewing leaders that I admire to find out what drives them and what we can learn from them. Today I'm on my way to interview Wim van Hennekeler. I know Wim from my time in PA Consulting Group. Wim van Hennekeler is one of the best management consultants I know. After studying political science at the University of Amsterdam, he started working for a broadcasting organization. Wim then moved on to become a management consultant and has worked for, amongst others, Deloitte and PA Consulting Group. At this moment, he has a senior leadership position in Cognizant. Wim has always been engaged with what is going on in our society and has recently written a book about the errors leaders make when taking decisions. The title of the book is Wrong Decisions, Patterns and Causes. I'm interested in what this book is about, what we can learn from it, and what it takes to write a book.
Wim, recently a book has been published by your hand called, Wrong Decisions. What is the book about?
The book is essentially about how teams of obviously smart people can go wrong in their decision making, and sometimes those decisions can have a dramatic impact, whereas you can ask yourself afterwards, how did we as a team how did we take this decision? How did we go wrong? What the essence of the book is there are a lot of underlying patterns behind decision-making cultures that actually drive decisions sometimes to be not optimal, so to say.
So what are some of these underlying patterns?
Underlying patterns can be, for example, very present hierarchy. So people who are having the end responsible roles in a team can actually have a disproportional influence on the decisions, and every single person has his own patterns and beliefs, and that can, for example, impact the decision. But, for example, lack of diversity is another one. So very homogeneous teams can also go wrong because they share the same beliefs, the same patterns, the same habits. Another reason could be, for example, underestimated complexity, which we see in the VUCA world of today quite often. There are more patterns, of course, but it's just to name a few.
Mm-hmm. And what are the most important lessons that readers of the book can, let's say, establish for their own personal situation?
I think amongst the most important lessons is never underestimate the patterns that drive your own behavior, that you're not aware of, the implicit beliefs that you have personally or as a team, or as a management team, for example. Because those patterns will drive your team behavior and your individual behavior if you're not aware of them. So it is always good to be aware and also organize things around it. So, for example, people who have a different opinion to be involved in decision making, or people who have different backgrounds, different insights. So just make sure that you don't just rely on your natural inclination to do what's good and be then so arrogant to think that it is good by default.
Mm-hmm. And can you name an example of such an implicit belief that people may have?
Well, there is a lot of traction, for example, these days again in mergers and takeovers. There is a professor who's specializing in mergers and acquisitions, and he says there's actually no economic reason behind why mergers and acquisitions in a certain period happen so often and in another period don't happen too often. It's more psychology. Mm-hmm. So board members of organizations see that other organizations merge or take over companies, and then they think that's an underlying pattern we need to be there as well. So it's more an underlying pattern that drives a lot of mergers and acquisitions than purely a business case.
Mm-hmm. What was the concrete reason for you to write this book? You've got a number of other things to do. What triggered you to say, and now I'm going to write this book?
Reason for me to write this book is I'm so fundamentally intrigued by how organizations can go wrong, how teams of smart people can make decisions with dramatic impact. It's also my background. I studied political science, which is also about power and behavior and how governance is organized. So that passion is actually driving me, and so I really thought it exciting to have a more to spend more time and really think through what are the reasons for this, because I also, as a consultant, work with teams, help them improve their decision-making culture, but also a lot of other transformational improvements for the organization. So being aware of what is actually driving people and teams is really crucial.
Yeah. You're an extremely successful consultant, and have also had a lot of leadership positions in the consulting and various consulting firms. Writing a book is not something that makes you rich instantaneously. On the contrary, it takes a tremendous amount of time and effort. So, how did you manage, let's say, to write this book? What was the key driver of doing this, despite the fact that you were so incredibly busy, you got a million other things to do? What drove you?
I think the most crucial thing here is that I deeply enjoyed it. Because of my passion for the topic, writing this book gave me so much joy, and really thinking through the content of the book. Also because I took some time. I'm busy, as you know, so it is more in evenings or holidays, but as it took some time, I could also see a lot of things happening with client organizations or in politics or in the world that actually also underline the statements in the book, so I can use those cases. So it was really a joy, and not for a moment this felt to me as a burden, something on top of the busy job that I have. It's like people who play golf like to play golf. Well, I don't play golf, but I deeply enjoyed writing this book, maybe similar.
Yeah. How long has it taken you total from, let's say, putting your first thoughts on paper to delivering, let's say, the final draft to your publisher?
I think it will be around maybe more than 2 years even. Yeah, 2-3 years. Yeah. And also because time is limited, of course. I think I spent what I did, for example, is I like hiking in the mountains. So on a holiday of a week, go hiking in the morning, get inspiration, and start writing in the afternoon. Then you really get traction, because you need that kind of traction writing a book. And so that I think I've completed 2 or 3 chapters in such a week.
Yeah. And a lot of people have the desire to ever write a book, including myself. I think a lot of people in our age, our position, basically want to write something, but the number of people that actually is able to write a book and deliver a book is quite small. So do you have any advice for other people who may have an aspiration to write a book as well?
I think my key advice was start over again.
Yeah.
I think my key advice is if you write a book, make sure that it is really about your passion, about a topic that really drives you also personally in terms of interest, in terms of passion, that you really like, then it will not feel as an additional burden, as an additional thing to do on top of the busy life of every day. So if you deeply enjoy it, then it's like a hobby. So it also requires that it's really about yourself, that is about a topic that has your deep interest, or maybe about you personally, and then it feels way easier than drafting a book, writing a book on a topic that you think is interesting, but is not really connected to you as a personality.